In 1997, a study by the University of Chicago tested two identical pairs of women's pants. Same fabric, same cut, same store. One was priced at $34, the other at $39. The $39 pair outsold the $34 pair by 24%. Not because it was cheaper, because it ended in 9. That single data point should make you stop and think about every price you have ever seen. By the end of this video, you will never look at a price tag the same way again. The otted 99 ending is not a coincidence. It is not a rounding habit. It is a documented psychological weapon that retailers have been deliberately deploying against your brain for over 150 years. Here is exactly how it works, who built it, and what it is actually costing you. Most people think charm pricing, that is the official name for prices ending in 99 or 95, exists because of competition. The story goes like this. Stores started dropping prices by a penny to undercut rivals. Consumers noticed the savings. Retailers kept doing it. Simple supply and demand, that is the version you will find in most business textbooks. It is not wrong, but it is dangerously incomplete because the real reason this pricing strategy survived and scaled has nothing to do with competition. It has everything to do with a flaw hardwired into the human brain that retailers learn to exploit with scientific precision. Here is the mechanism. Your brain does not process numbers the way a calculator does. When you see $4.99, your brain reads the leftmost digit first, the 4, and anchors your perception there before it even finishes reading the rest of the number. This is called left digit bias, and it was formally documented by researchers Manoj Thomas and Vicky Morwitz in a 2005 study published in the Journal of Consumer Research. They found that the brain encodes $4.99 as closer to $4 than to $5, even though the actual difference is 1 single cent, 1 penny. That is the entire trick. Your brain rounds down before it rounds at all. And retailers know exactly what they are doing with it. The history here matters. The practice of 99 pricing in America dates back to at least the 1870s. Roland Hussey Macy, yes, that Macy, was among the first major retailers to systematically use odd cent pricing across his New York department store. But the reason Macy used it was not psychology, it was theft prevention. If a clerk received $1 for a $1 item, they could pocket the bill and never open the register. But if the item cost 99 cents, they had to open the register to give change. The register opened. The transaction was recorded. The theft was harder. That is the original reason. A security measure to stop employee theft in the 1870s accidentally trained 150 years of consumers to associate the number 9 with a good deal. Then the 20th century arrived and marketers figured out what Macy had stumbled onto. They ran the studies, they tested the numbers, they found that charm pricing did not just prevent theft, it actively increased sales, and then they industrialized it. By the 1990s, researchers found that somewhere between 30 and 65% of all retail prices in the United States ended in 9. Not by accident, by design. The evidence is staggering once you start looking at specific cases. In 2003, MIT and the University of Chicago ran another clothing experiment, this time with women's blouses. They tested prices of $34, $39, and $44. The $39 blouse outsold both cheaper and more expensive versions. A product priced higher than one of the alternatives sold more just because it ended in 9. That is not a marginal effect. That is a documented, repeatable, commercially exploited psychological override. And it scales. Anderson and Semester, the researchers behind that study, estimated that demand for a product priced at $X99 is on average 8 to 10% higher than the same product at the nearest whole dollar amount. Across the entire U.S. retail market, which moves roughly $7 trillion a year, a consistent 8 to 10% lift in conversions driven by a 1 cent pricing trick, represents an almost incomprehensible transfer of purchasing decisions away from your rational mind and toward a retailer's revenue target. Now, here is what this actually costs you. And this is where it gets genuinely uncomfortable. The left digit bias does not just make you buy more, it makes you budget wrong. When you mentally tally your grocery cart and round $3.99 down to approximately $4, and $7.99 down to approximately $8, and $12.99 down to approximately $13, you are systematically undercounting your total. A cart with 10 $99 priced items will almost always cost you between $5 and $10 more than your mental estimate. Over 52 weekly grocery trips a year, that mental rounding error can quietly drain $250 to $500 from a household budget. Not because you were irresponsible, because a pricing format was specifically calibrated to exploit a documented cognitive shortcoming. You were not bad at math. You were targeted by people who were very good at it. So what can you actually do? First, always round up, not down. Train yourself to read $7.99 as $8. It sounds obvious. It is surprisingly hard to do automatically because the left digit bias is not a choice, it is a reflex. Second, use a running total on your phone when you shop. The act of adding real numbers manually breaks the anchor effect. Third, notice when 99 pricing disappears. Apple prices the iPhone at $999, not $999.99. Dollars that is intentional too. The luxury signal requires the brain to feel like it is reading a real number, not a discounted one. Whole number pricing signals premium, charm pricing signals bargain. Both are manipulating you. The framing just runs in opposite directions. Now here is the final fact, the one I saved for last, because this is the detail that moved the whole thing from interesting to genuinely outrageous for me. In 2012, researchers at New York University published a study showing that when prices end in 99, consumers not only perceive the product as cheaper, they also perceive it as lower quality. The brain that rounds $4.99 down to $4 also quietly files it under budget and ordinary. Retailers have known this for decades, which means that for 150 years, the retail industry has been using a pricing trick that simultaneously makes you feel like you are getting a deal and subtly signals that what you are buying is not that good. They have been exploiting your brain to take your money while quietly telling you the product is cheap, and you have been walking out of the store feeling like you won. Follow this channel. We post the real reason behind everyday things every single day,